let's see what we got over here. Let's go to the next one down. We're gonna go then to the sixth. And so, okay. So now we're on the 9-note away major 6. 9-note away major 6. Now, if I look at that from a chord construction standpoint, it's not going to be called a 6. Why? Because we only, when we're in chord mode, we don't deal with even numbers. So it goes 1, 3, 5, 7. That's the last one that we pick up. And then we rename the 2 to the 9. We rename the 4 to the 11, and then the 6 is now the 13. You're no longer 6, you're lucky number 13, baby. That's what you are now. It's like, okay. So now we have to think about it in two ways. It could be a 9-note away major 6 or 9-note away major 13. And the sixth, this 6 represents the 6th position. The 9 represents how many notes away from the root, in this case, the C, that we are going. Okay. So if I went to the right, I'd look for 9 notes away. That's too far to reach. So I'd like to look for the inverse distance on the same string. So 12 minus 9, the inverse of a major is a minor. So it's 3, which would be a minor third distance. So if I go 3 notes back, because if I bend this string into a circle, I can go one way around the circle or the other way around the circle. And I was like, going to the right is too far of a distance. I don't feel like going that far. I'm tired, okay? So what I'll do is I'll go around the other side of the circle to get to the same spot, which is 3 frets back. So you get too smart, you get fat, because then you start thinking of ways not to go as far. I realized I don't have to run all day. I can go around the other side of the circle. Why would I? Okay, so if I go from the A to the C, that would therefore be a 3-note away minor third, and the inverse from C to A would be a 9-note away major 6. 9-note away major 6. Okay, so then if we go above it, then up to here. So now I'm going above it. I'm looking for the inverse distance. So if it's a 9-note away major 6, 12 minus 9 is a distance of 3. So it's going to be then -5 and then 4, 3. If I count it out from here, it's going to be -5 and then 4, 3. So if I went from this A to that C, that should be a familiar shape, because that would be a 3-note, 3-note away minor third. And if I go from the bottom to the top, then that's going to therefore be the inverse distance of a 5-note away major 6. That means that if I go up one string, and by the way, if you look at that shape, notice it's kind of like looking at one of those pictures, like where it looks like an old lady, or it looks like a witch, depending on how you see it, right? It switches back and forth. You have to, the intervals are that way as well. And we want the ability to be able to change our mind to see the picture from both perspectives, because that's highly useful. Like if I can see that going from A to C is a minor third distance, that's great when I'm trying to build something off of the A. But it's also quite useful to see that if I look at this shape going from the C to the A, that it's a 9-note away major 6, because if I'm trying to build something from the C or look at it from that perspective, because possibly I'm in a C major or I'm trying to build some kind of C chord, that's the way you want to see it, right? So we have to kind of be able to switch our mind back and forth that's what I'm kind of working on, that's my suggestion about things. So if I go up one string, the 9-note away major 6 is 2 frets forward unless I cross the fault line, which would happen only on the B string. So if I go up one string from there, it would be here. It's lesser distance because the tonic got pushed forward. So the rule is, If I go up one string, the 9-note away major 6, which also could be called the 9-note away major 13, would be 2 frets forward unless I cross the fault line, which only happens on the B string, in which case, if I go up one string and cross the fault line, the 9-note away major 6, which could also be called the 9-note away major 13, is only 1 fret forward. All right, so then let's go 2 strings up, 2 strings up. It's like 2 thumbs up, but it's 2 strings up. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets back. So if I count that up, it's going to be negative. I'm looking for the 9-note away major 6 or 9-note away major 13, which needs an inverse distance if I go above it. So 12 minus 9 is a distance of 3. So it's going to be negative 5, negative 10, and then negative 11, 12, octave, 12, or 0, and then 1, 2, 3. So then I'm going to do it from here. So I could say this is going to be negative 5, negative 10, and then negative 11, 12, or 0, right? And 1, 2, 3. Or 12 or 0, 1, 2, 3. All right, I think I got that. So then if I go from this A to the open A to the C, that would be a 3-note away minor third. And if I go then from the bottom to the top, that therefore would be a 9-note away major 6. All right, makes perfect sense. So that means if I go up 2 strings, the 9-note away major 6 is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets back unless I cross the fault line, which would happen on the bottom 2 strings, the B or the E string, in which case if I was like on this C right here and I went up 2 strings, it would be way back here, a further distance because this plate pushed the tonic further to the right and I'm leaning backwards, which means it's a further distance. So the rule is if I go up 2 strings, the 9-note away major 6, which could also be called the 9-note away major 13, is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets unless I cross the fault line, which would happen on the bottom 2 strings, the B and the bottom E string, bottom of the guitar that is, in which case if I go up 2 strings and cross the fault line, the 9-note away major 6, which could also be called the 9-note away major 13, will be 6 frets back, basically just out of reach, which also means it's going to be 6 frets forward because that's going to be right in the middle, creating an equilateral triangle. I think that's what it's called. I say it all the time. So hopefully I'm saying it right. Otherwise, I'm saying it wrong a bunch of times, and I'm going to memorize it stupidly. I'm going to memorize it wrongly. You know, one time I was working in an accounting office, and I was like, and we were talking about the old days before everything was on the computers, and I was talking about a manila folder, and I kept calling it a vanilla folder. And I seriously thought, even after college, that it was called a vanilla folder, because it looks vanilla colored to me. And this Asian lady that doesn't even speak English was like, is it really called vanilla? I call it, I thought it was called Manila. And I was like, oh no, the Asian lady's almost certainly correct. She's a genius. And so I tried to play it off before the supervisor heard about it and laughed at me, but it was too late. He's like, you call it, no, it is Manila. And I was like, oh man. But Manila folder, what does that even mean, dude? What does it even mean? It looks vanilla colored, you know? Makes perfect sense to call it whatever. Let's go up 3 strings. So we're going to say we go up 3 strings. This is going to be, I'm looking for a 9-note away major 6, which has a distance of 12 minus 9 or 3. So it's going to be 5, 10, 15. 15 minus 12 is 3. So there it is. Let's count it up this way. So it's going to be 5, 10, 15, and then 15 minus 12 is 3. So if I went from top to bottom, it would be a 3-note away minor third, bottom to top. Therefore is the inverse of a 9-note away major 6 or 9-note away major 13. Therefore, if I go up 3 strings, the 9-note away major 6 or 9-note away major 13 is going to be on the same fret unless I cross the fault line, which would happen on the bottom 2 strings, like here, for example. So if I went up 3 from there, it would be right there. So the rule is, if I go up 3 strings, the 9 note away major 6, which could also be called the 9 note away major 13. It's going to be on the same fret unless I cross the fault line, which would happen on the bottom 2 strings, the E and the low or bottom, the bottom E string, in which case if I go up 3 strings and cross the fault line, the 9 note away major 6, which could also be called the 9 note away major 13, will be 1 fret back. Okay then, let's say we go down 1 string. Now when I go down a string from here, I'm right on the tectonic plate just like I am here. We're going to fall right into the crack, but not yet. That's going to happen in due time. Right now I'm sitting happy. I'm sitting pretty at this point, but I have to remember that I have to go a little bit further to the coffee shop because the coffee shop tectonic plate shifted to the right here, right underneath. So if I'm looking for a 9 note away major 6, I no longer then I no longer have to take the inverse distance. I could just say this is going to be 5 and then 6, 7, 8, 9. Boom. So I'm going to say this is going to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 right there. So that means that if I go down 1 string and cross the fault line, the 9 note away major 6 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets forward. But usually I wouldn't cross the fault line because even if I was on like this plate, this continent down here, I wouldn't cross the fault line. And if I was on any other string up here, I wouldn't cross the fault line. I'm just happen to be living on the fault line because you're not very smart. I don't even have earthquake insurance. I'm like living in California, like the typical Californian, living in a fire zone with no fire insurance, living in an earthquake zone, ready to fall into the hole with no earthquake. And, it's just whatever, dude. The weather's nice. The weather's nice. What do you want from me? But the general idea is that if you go down, if you go down 1 string, the 9 note away major 6, which could also be called the 9 note away major 13, is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 frets forward unless you cross the fault line, which would only happen on the G string, in which case if you go down 1 string and cross the fault line, the 9 note away major 6, which could also be called the 9 note away major 13, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets forward. All right then. One more time, one more round. I didn't hear no bell. My mouth isn't watering yet because I didn't hear a bell. And bells when food happens. I could still work. As long as my mouth's not watering, then I can still work. I don't stop until my mouth's watering, and my mouth don't water until I hear a bell. Dang it. Okay. Let's say we go down 2 strings. This is going to be 5 going this way, and then 10, and then we go back to 9. So if we do that from here, it's going to be 5 going this way, 10, back to 9, 9 note away major 6. Okay, so that means if I go down 2 strings and cross the fault line, the 9 note away major 6, which could also be called the 9 note away major 13, is on the same fret. But I wouldn't cross the fault line on the top 2 strings, the E and the A string here. Por ejemplo, if I go into this one and I went down 2 strings, I would be here. So normally, if I go down 2 strings, the 9 note away major 6, which could also be called the 9 note away major 13, would be 1 fret back unless I cross the fault line, which would happen on the D and the G string, in which case, if I went down 2 strings and crossed the fault line, the 9 note away major 6, which could also be called the 9 note away major 13, would be on the same fret.